Witam wszystkich ponownie w Technomancie i parę rzeczy. Pierwsza rzecz. Licznika już nie ma, tak. Zdobyłem sobie parę poziomów, 3 konkretnie i raz. Jestem o krok od zdobycia tornada. I szczerze powiedziawszy, bardzo mnie interesuje to tornado. 2. Dałem sobie w tworzenie i teraz się zastanawiam, czy dać sobie w charyzmę, czy to jest po prostu kumulatywny bonus, bo popatrzcie, tutaj mamy do ceny przedmiotów u kupca, do obrażeń zadanych przez towarzyszy i do zdrowia towarzyszy. Innymi słowy, to jest najprawdopodobniej albo kumulatywne, czyli opłacałoby się kolejny poziom charyzmy, bo to jest 25 kolejnych procent, chyba że to nie jest kumulatywne. I to jest właśnie nie napisane, za co tą grę powinienem besztać. Tak. I czy to jest kolejne 20, kolejne 10%? O, nie mam pojęcia. Kolejna rzecz. Dałem sobie do 1 do zręczności. Szansa krytyczna zaklęć. Dlaczego? Zaklęć mocy technomantycznych. Dlaczego? Gdyż wyposażyłem sobie ulepszyłem sobie rękawice z dodatkowymi chyba 8 punktami do obrażeń. To robi różnicę. Naprawdę. To robi różnicę. Co jeszcze? Zastanawiałem się, czy nie pójść chociaż 1 punkt w kondycję, ale to jest 10 punktów zdrowia. 10 punktów zdrowia. Na moje 100. I o ile towarzysze mają jakieś chore ilości zdrowia, skąd oni je biorą, nie mam zielonego pojęcia. Ale mają. I nie mam pojęcia jak. Serio. Co jeszcze? Co nieco sobie ulepszyłem ekwipunek oraz... zabawna sprawa. Tak, mamy tutaj kilkanaście osób do porozmawiania. Zabawna sprawa. Miałem tu licznik właśnie tych 11 godzin, ale gdy tylko weszłem na Valles Neris, wyzerował się i łazik od razu się pojawił tutaj. Komiczne. Ale idziemy teraz porozmawiać z naszym nowym... No, to nie jest szef, gdyż on tam nam pozwolił być, bo to jest miejsce wolne dla wszystkich, ale... Chwileczkę.
Zachariah, what can I do for you?
Łazik.
I moved the rover for you. If Ophir finds the road in, it won't be because of me.
Yes, I already heard. Sorry if the request seemed paranoid. Better safe than sorry.
Dokładnie. Informacja o miejscach. Jej! Noctis, reputacja +1. Reakcji pełnia mutanci. Czy ja z nim rozmawiałem?
Mutants walk around.
And why wouldn't they be?
Tak.
They work. It may be a surprise.
Tak. Postaci i frakcji. A, to było to. Informacje o misjach.
How'd you find out about my brothers so quickly?
Well, besides the fact that your accident and eventful arrival slowed you down, my messenger's sand sales make up in speed. And of course, the arrests of a...
You know why
Chwileczkę.
they were arrested?
The official statement. He didn't
A,
get...
tak, to już było. Dobra. Mamy to. Teraz chwileczkę. Po kolei. Kogo my tu mamy? Borys Zwiadowca. Borys Zwiadowca? W każdym razie, teraz porozmawiajmy z naszymi towarzyszami. I... czy ja chcę... Jeszcze nie. Rozmawiam z Emelią o zniszczonym łaziku. Andrew Niesza. Przypomina mi się postać z Neverwintera dwójki, Niszka. To była postać. Dobrze. I od razu tu z wszystkimi porozmawiamy. Troszkę mi to zajmie czasu, ale przynajmniej się czegoś dowiemy. Bo to jest tak. Ty masz coś dla mnie? Chyba nie.
Hello.
Nacja mutantów, śmierć... A, to już pytaliśmy. Okej. Czyli nie masz dla mnie żadnych zadań. Dobra. Teraz...
So, just when I thought shit couldn't be worse, her engine's been blown like a John in a whorehouse. Parts now, a stator, a thermic regulator, a rotor. With only a few rovers out there, it's not like you can just grab those parts from the nearest merchant. There is one in Ophir, though. He used to have a machine for me from scratch. And I heard there may be someone else here in Noctis who sells them too. However, when it comes to prices, since we don't have abundance of support, it's not the same anymore. It's gonna cost you an arm and a leg, honey. I wouldn't mind seeing you go broke, but there are other options. Let me think. In my shed, I had a replacement stator ready to go. I imagine that the area is closely monitored, but if you manage to sneak in, maybe you could recover it. I also had a delivery waiting. The quartermaster, Ryan Stewart. I imagine he must still have a rotor in his inventory since I'm not there anymore. It won't be easy to get it back, but that's your problem.
Go
Dzięki.
back with Ryan. Know his inventory well. Though with all those soldiers in the barracks, it'll be a tough nut to crack.
The final option's a robber I heard of who parts everything he fucking finds. Not a guy I'd want to grab a drink with, but I heard he's got spare rover parts. May have one of the ones we need. And I've heard that he wasn't interested in serum. Maybe you'll have to take chances, who knows? Anyway, it could be a lead. One last thing. I found the tools I'll need. However, I was in such a rush that I forgot to take my serum. I don't have a single drop of it left. And since around here they don't give away freebies...
Here, take this. You will be able to buy your tools.
Well done. Wow, this is great. You just have to go get me the parts now.
Jej.
I'll take care of it. The shed, Ryan's inventory, the looter, or if I want to go broke, the merchants. See? I remember everything.
Może magazyn. Nie zdobyliśmy u niej reputacji? O.
Tell me more about you growing up.
What's there to say? I was a ward of the state in Abundance's centers. It was lonely and, you know, the other kids were assholes, but I gotta tell you, those times my dad returned from his missions, and I got to see him, best times of my life.
Wait, what? I thought the reason you'd been placed in a center was that your dad disappeared.
Who the hell told you that? No, I was real young when they took me away. My parents were always off on missions, and someone had to take care of me, you know? I don't even remember living with them. Honestly, I don't want to talk about it.
Sure, sorry. Yeah. Besides your rovers, what else makes you happy here, Amelia?
O!
Nature. Not the bugs or animals and stuff, but the landscapes, you know? Sunsets, mountains scraping the sky, red water trickling down the hills in the spring, gray lichen floating in the morning breeze. Back in Ophir, I used to take the rover
Dlaczego
out
ja dostałem
just to take it all in.
-2?
Always managed to put things in perspective, you know?
Chyba, że reputacja się zaczyna od
Amelia the poet
-2.
philosopher. Who'd have thought it?
Why you gotta be a smartass?
Aha, I'm not. I was being... Just never saw that side of you. The passion. Makes me want to take a rover out before dawn tomorrow.
Well, let's go together. I've always wanted to share it with someone.
Dokładnie. O, jej życie uczuciowe. Ojojojojojojoj. O, będzie boleć.
Seeing anyone at the moment?
What, you mean a boyfriend? No, not right now. You applying for the position?
I mean...
Look at your face! You can't even come up with something to say. Listen, you don't look half bad, soldier. It
O!
won't take too much for me to cuddle up with you at night.
Podoba mi się, podoba mi się. O. Zapytaj towarzyszy.
What do you
Phobos?
think of Phobos?
I don't really know what to think of him. He must have had a horrible life. He's a mutant, and we all know how they are treated. And you know, that liberation story, that mutant nation thing and all, freaks me out a little. He's very smart, however. I sometimes even have the feeling that he can guess what we're thinking.
What do you think of Nisha?
She's stuck up. She was pretending to be a princess in Ophir. Here, she's the boss. Like, I've got a lot of experience, and you don't know anything. Pisses me off. And she seems to forget that she wouldn't have gotten out of Ophir or gone on trips without me. Silly girl.
Ona ma ogień w sobie. Ona ma naprawdę dużo ognia w sobie.
What do you think of Andrew?
Besides the fact that he still has to fucking square it with abundance, he isn't too bad. Street smart, and his being a smuggler gives him an edge. But he isn't into me, and I'm not into pining over a guy who doesn't bother to look at me anyway.
Nice. I Scott.
What do you think of Scott? You know him well.
Know him well? That's an exaggeration. He doesn't actually say much about himself. Most of the time, he's on his own planet, and before he gets back down to Mars, well, we lose radio communication. He's nice. He regularly checks in to see how I am. He used to bring me gifts when I was young, but he can't help commenting on the chances I take and all. And it pisses me off. I like
Okay.
him, but he's not my father, I mean.
O miejscach, Buda.
You must have traveled a lot. Could you tell me more about what you discovered?
You know, when I'm being sent out to explore, it's for prospecting. I drive around, take samples, map out the area, that kind of thing. I discovered 2 mines last year. We'll put them into service once we connect them with the shadow paths. Wow, it doesn't sound as exciting now that I think about it. But I don't care. Despite all of this, I can go almost anywhere. I see landscapes that others will never see, and sometimes I stumble across amazing places. I'm not doomed to remain under a shell of metal.
Ścieżki cienia najprawdopodobniej to są wykuwane wąwozy albo specjalne, no, miejsca, żeby tylko właśnie słońce nie dochodziło. A, postać jest zmęczona.
Zachariah, you look good.
Nie.
How long have you known Amelia?
Since she was a kid. She was quite a cute child, yet so agitated. She's actually no different. She is still agitated and doesn't realize the risks she takes. Mark was more cautious. I really hope that she'll become more careful. I would be very sad if something happened to her. Sometimes I have the feeling that she thinks I'm a tiresome old man. It would
A,
be
to już było chyba.
Um,
W postaci frakcji.
What do you think of Phobos?
He's an interesting character, no doubt about that. He shows great intelligence, which shows that mutation doesn't affect cerebral faculties, at least the first generation. And to a certain extent, I understand his desire to improve the mutants' living conditions. We are terribly unfair to them, that's for sure. They are sick, and instead of helping them, we treat them like slaves. However, I think that he is going a little too far with his mutant nation story. I don't see why they should create a mutant nation on its own. He should instead make people within the corporations think differently.
O, i to jest dobre podejście. O,
Tell
i
me more
Mark.
about your friend, Mark Reacher.
I don't really like to stir up old memories about him, his disappearance. I miss him, you know. He really was a very good friend. We met when we were young. I was researching animal mutations. But, of course, I didn't have a specimen in town. My professor introduced me to a young...
Chwileczkę,
It was
moment.
the first time that I went out. Mark would obviously prevent...
To już chyba było. Nisza?
Do you like Nisha?
Yes, I like that little one. First, because she saved your life, and then because she's a charming young woman. Very bright. I really wonder why she spends so much energy on that lost city. I am sure that she could have had a wonderful future with us. Even though you have to recognize that Abundance's spies are much less pleasant. Just the thought of that awful Victor.
Dobrze. Zaraz, Mark odkrywca, a tu był kto? Borys zwiadowca. Okej, dobra, dobra. Co my tu jeszcze mamy? Mamy ciebie.
Hey, there you are. Your meeting go well.
As well as hoped. Thanks.
Then let's get down to business. You know who I am.
Naśmiewaj się z Andrew? A.
What happened that day?
I had a surge. A big one. One even the Masters never saw coming, literally. Before they even knew what was happening, I electrified everyone and everything around me. It screamed like thunder from my body, before the ceiling itself finally collapsed in on me. I woke up in the infirmary without an arm, surrounded by all those powerful masters who stood there shaken, whispering, their eyes still filled with fear. And everything went dark again, and I woke up in a sand sail.
Ouch.
Why aren't you with your family?
Right, my family. They were small-time merchants. I'm sure real proud their son was gifted with Technomancy and was joining the school. But they were also scared as shit of me for the same reason. We're all scared of what we don't understand. It's why so many fear us both. Not that I'm sure any of the masters even asked them to take me back. It was more important to them that I disappear for good, to hide what happened, keep the illusion of their infallibility intact. Also, to hide the fact they had people among them who had the power to take down entire buildings. No, I had to go. In some ways, they even did me a favor.
And you never tried to reconnect with them? Even after you got free?
No, I looked for him. Even tracked down my father, who was just this old man. Didn't even recognize me. And if he did, he'd probably just hate me for what I've become. A crippled outcast, not something you'd put your pride in. So I let it lie, just walked away.
No.
What about your gift? I thought people died if they didn't use their fluid.
It's a myth. There are rogue technomancers out there. Not a lot, but a few. They know how to control their fluid surges. Probably the only thing that piece of shit Marcello could take credit for. He introduced me to one of those guys, and after that, I learned to control it the hard way. The irony, no? I'll never be a Technomancer now, but I control the fluid better than any of Abundance's masters. Not for power, just to make sure my own brain doesn't fry.
What have you been up to since you left?
What have I done? Well, after spending 10 years of my life as a slave trying to pay that piece of shit Marcello back for what he called my debts, traveled in his luggage hold, did his dirty jobs, whatever he needed to get his business going. Carried crates, drove sand sails, shoveled sand, ran errands, but mostly just picked his customers' pockets. I traveled a lot, though, if I'm going to find any silver lining in it, and have earned my damn place here in Noctis. Even if the price of that has been rarely sleeping in a real bed or reading a book that wasn't about accounting.
Za ofery
I
pomoc.
want to help you. What can I do?
Some things can't be healed, Rogue. Like that scar across your face. I'm guessing you got it the day I lost everything. And was reduced to a sad, broken, armless shadow of what I might have been.
Some things can't be healed, but most can be mended, friend. Let me ask around. It might be a long shot, but maybe you'll find a new reason to call yourself lucky again. We'll find someone who can lead you back to your gifts. I promise.
I may be bitter, but I'm no less grateful. Thank you, Zachariah. A little show of kindness goes a long way.
What? Okej, to może Scotta? Scott ma te ładunki leczące, ale ona ma tarczę. Okej. Premia pasywna. On już ma to 2 regeneracji. A ona co ma? Odporność na zakłócenie. Co ty masz? Regenerację mocy. O! Premia do charyzmy. O! O! Dobra. Odnaleziony przyjaciel. Twoje relacje z towarzyszem poprawiły. Reputacja przyjazna zapewni ci premię do talentów. Co może sprawić? O! Tak, tak, tak. Chwileczkę, zobaczmy. O, jest. I to jest ta premia. Andrew. Nice. Właśnie. Moment. A, to jest poziom wyżej. Oho. Okej. Dobrze. Właśnie, do tej pory mnie boli, że tam nie mam pokazanych wszystkich. Chwileczkę.
Zach, perfect timing. You remember Abby Goodman, friend of mine you helped before?
Yeah, of course. She really your friend, or all just part of the cover you had going on?
No, no, she is. She's a spy for Noctis too, though. She's actually been working on something for me and finally managed to get some info I'd been trying to get.
What information was that?
I spent a part of my life in a rehabilitation camp after my arrest in Ophir. It was the worst time of my existence, and I've always wondered how I'd ended up here. Who had turned us in? We were just a group of street kids. We would steal food here and there, but we weren't dangerous. However, we were arrested and deported to a camp like hardened criminals or terrorists. What happened followed me for many years, until I learned that an important member of the Vori clique was responsible for the deportation of dozens of people. Most of them were innocent, but a nuisance for the mob. I want to find that guy. I want to know if it's he who got us deported. I want to understand why and make him pay. For me and my companions, of course, but also for those poor people who hadn't asked for anything.
I'm sorry, but I can't come with you right now.
I see.
How the hell did you go from being an artist in Ophir to a spy in Noctis?
Less of a stretch than you think. After all, a good lie, like good art, has to be close to your reality, right? Truth? I was an orphan. Parents did die, and I was on the street and got sucked into a gang. We all got arrested pretty quick and ended up in a rehab camp. Swore I'd die there a couple of times because I wasn't gonna let them brainwash me, and they didn't take too kindly to that. I took the beatings, but got to keep my mind. Then, the day came. Noctis attacked. They freed a lot of us and brought me here, took care of us, gave us a chance to have lives again. So, I felt like I owed them something in return, and offered to go back to Ophir as a spy. Good thing, too. Otherwise, who would have torn you out of Victor's grip and brought you back here?
To fakt, to fakt. Kochanków, oj.
You miss making music?
I miss performing. I mean, I still sing for myself here and there, write new lyrics when I feel inspired. But the moments I shared with my audience, it was so intense when I felt everyone humming with me.
How about you sing for me?
Maybe another time. But I'd love to. There's something intimate in sharing your art, like sharing your soul. It's why I feel like music can unite people across corporations, on opposite sides of wars or causes. It's simply beautiful. And in between the notes, our differences seem to disappear. The second all this ends, I'll get back to it. It's what I was born for, and I'm not one to deny destiny.
Nie pytam o kochanków. Wieczkę, interesuje mnie jedna rzecz. Jeśli ja odczepię Amelię... Mogę? Nie mogę. Czyli najpierw muszę wykonać jedno zadanie, potem drugie. Co my tu mamy? Znajdź wirnik. Wow. Tutaj mamy od razu coś?
Zachariah, you look good. Better than I. As if that was hard to accomplish.
What do you think about Andrew? He comes from Ophir like you, and he could have become a Technomancer, but he had an accident.
I remember, yes. You know that I was the one who had spotted his abilities and had taken him to school, as I did for you? I thought that he was dead. That's what I was told, that he was dead. I shouldn't have listened to them. He looks perfectly alive now.
Yes, but he lost an arm during the accident. and he can't use Technomancy anymore.
How so? That's ridiculous. Technomancy has nothing to do with arms. It is all in the head. You just have to... Let me think. Yes, I think that with... Yes, that's it. With a full Technomancer kit, I would have the parts needed to create a bypass on a classic prosthesis. But I would need my notes to do that.
Your notes?
I studied Technomancy as well. Anyway, from a scientific standpoint, obviously. I've never thrown lightning bolts, and I can't do it physically. Moreover, those kits wouldn't suit me, I'm sure.
Scott, you studied Technomancy?
Yes, and I had conducted in-depth research on the way in which your neural network expressed its static charge throughout your equipment. But all this is old. I can't remember it all, and I left my notes in Ophir. I won't have any trouble helping that boy if you bring me my notes and the equipment. You wanted something else?
No. Thank you, Scott. I'm gonna try to bring all that back.
Coraz lepiej. Znajdź badania Scotta. Coś tu jeszcze jest? Kapłan. Kapłan? Kapłan chce z nami porozmawiać? I kto tam jeszcze? Najeźdźca mutantów. Znajdź regulator... Aha. Okej. Kapłan jest wyżej. No, trochę to będzie przegadany odcinek, ale dowiedzieliśmy się w nim masę rzeczy. Między innymi blizna, której nie do końca mi się podobała. Okazuje się, że no, to był wypadek z Andrew. Chwileczkę porozmawiajmy jeszcze z tym kapłanem.
Repent! We won't have access to the Blue Paradise so long as we are not all absolved of our sins. You came here to wash your soul?
I had something else in mind. Could you tell me more about your sect?
I can talk about it for hours, even days.
A few minutes should be enough.
All right, how can I sum up faith? All the truth contained in this world in a few words. I have to bring myself down to my followers' level. I'll skip the beginning of the story. Let's start with the settlers' arrival. So the settlers had challenged Sun by coming to this planet, by leaving heaven to come down to this hell. So he decided to destroy every source of life on Mars. His wrath was terrible. He unleashed a cataclysm that engulfed the world in a dust cloud. He probably would have wiped out every one of us if his son hadn't taken mercy on us and bestowed the blessing of his shadow. And it is in that shadow where the real men stayed, whereas the others, who thought they could withstand the Lord's vengeful eye, saw their features change forever. They became beasts and lost their soul. Today, we endlessly beg the Lord to reconcile with his Son and agree to live in harmony with us, that his eye becomes tender again and no longer burns.
I think I've heard enough. Everyone knows that story. I was hoping there might be something different, but no. I'm looking for some work. Would you happen to have anything for me?
It is the shadow who has sent you. I am looking for new worship
Oh, nie,
objects
nie,
for
nie.
my followers, and there are relics, benign traces of those who used to live in the
Zaraz,
canyons
moment.
around the city, in the ruins of splendid cities. I would have gone there myself on my knees as if it were a holy pilgrimage, but that horrible place is teeming with disgusting creatures and ruthless thieves.
You want me to get the relics for you then? All right, I'll see what I can do. Even though I have some doubts regarding those splendid cities, only a few dwellings there.
Podczas przeszukiwania właśnie, podczas grindu, znajdź regulator. Nie, ja się chyba teraz tak, udam się do Ophir. Podczas przeszukiwania, grindowania, znalazłem 2 miejsca, w których były, no, artefakty. Nie wiedziałem, co z nimi zrobić. Chwileczkę, w ogóle mogę dać niszę? Mogę, drużyna jest pełna. Amelia, nisza, zakończ. Czy teraz mogę...
Hi.
Nie? Nie? A, to pewnie po jego zadaniu. Aha. To skompletuj drużynę. Nie, nisza. Amelia. Zakończ. Dobrze. Przegadaliśmy ten odcinek, dowiedzieliśmy się paru ciekawych rzeczy, dobrze skonstruowana historia. I w następnym odcinku to już udamy się do Ofir. Udamy się do Ofir i wykonamy chyba całą serię zadań, bijąc chyba wszystko po kolei. Ale jeszcze skoczę sobie wyregulować pedeki. Dobrze, ja bardzo dziękuję wszystkim za oglądanie. Jeśli materiał się spodobał, poproszę zostawić lajka. Jeśli macie jakieś pytania bądź sugestie, z radością przeczytam je wszystkie w komentarzu. Ja ze swojej strony jeszcze raz dziękuję, życzę miłego dnia, jak i do zobaczenia.